to today's video. Hello to those of you who are new here. My name is Emma. I am the one that runs this YouTube channel, as you had probably guessed, as well as the written and Instagram blog Tea and God. And for those of you who are returning viewers, hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be finally wrapping up our study in Ecclesiastes. In all actuality, this has taken a lot longer than I thought it would because just, life happened and that's okay. But as usual, before diving into our study for the day, I do want to do our psalm and our tea of the day for the day. And I am actually going to be reading from my English Standard Version Bible today, but this is one that I typically, for me, I tend to stick in the English Standard Version, the New Living Translation, and the New King James. Those are just my personal go-tos. But regardless, this is still a single column journaling Bible, which basically just means that it has room in the margins for notes or for people that do art journaling for that as well, and it just has the single column down the middle. So our psalm for the day today is going to be Psalm 112, so if you guys either want to pause the video or just quickly turn there while I'm talking, either way works. But Psalm 112, starting in verse 1, says, "Praise the Lord. Blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who greatly delights in his commandments. His offspring will be mighty in the land, the generation of the upright will be blessed. Wealth and riches are in his house, and his righteousness endures forever. Light dawns in the darkness for the upright. He is gracious, merciful, and righteous. It is well with the man who deals generously and lends, who conducts his affairs with justice. For the righteous will never be moved. He will be remembered forever. He is not afraid of bad news. His heart is firm, trusting the Lord. His heart is steady. He will not be afraid until he looks in triumph on his adversaries. He has distributed freely. He has given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever. His horn is exalted in honor. The wicked man sees it and is angry. He gnashes his teeth and melts away. The desire of the wicked will perish." And I love this one, specifically verses 7 and 8, where it says, "He is not afraid of bad news. His heart is firm, trusting in the Lord. His heart is steady. He will not be afraid until he looks in triumph on his adversaries." Because I feel like so often when we're facing trials, or facing hardships, or when things aren't necessarily going right in our lives, it's a lot harder for us to still trust in the fact that God is good, that he is just, and that he will ultimately reign supreme. And so those two verses are just, they're full of such hope. And before diving into our chapter of Ecclesiastes, I do want to quickly spotlight our tea of the day. I have it in my little Delft mug. I love this one. It's my favorite. I say that about all of my teacups and mugs and things, but it's fine. So this is actually, I'm trying to figure out how I can show you guys this. I might just take a picture. I don't know. Regardless, it is a tea bloom tea. For those of you that don't know what tea bloom is, it is basically this company that makes aesthetically pleasing tea. And hypothetically, it's supposed to bloom into this pretty floral arrangement with the green tea leaves, and it never looks like how it does in the package, if I'm completely honest with you, but it still has flowers, so it's okay. I'm currently drinking, or will be drinking because it's still quite hot, the Fairy Lily package from the Jasmine pack, or Jasmine blend container thing that they have. But yeah, so the tea bloom tea is it's still aesthetic, it's just never as aesthetic as they say it's gonna be. This one has the base of the tea leaves and then an arch of flowers and things over it. That's not at all what it looks like. It's basically just the tea leaves and some orange and white flowers sticking out. So it's still pretty, but it's not the arch, which is fine. But it's fine. Anyways, very off topic, sorry. But diving into Ecclesiastes 12, starting in verse 1, it says, "Remember also your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come and the years draw near, of which you will say, I have no pleasure in them." And I pause there at the end of verse 1 because I think it is really important for us to recognize that regardless of the opportunities and all of the things that are happening in youth, for most of us, there will be marriage, there will be children, there will be schooling, there will be careers starting, there will be a lot of different opportunities and different big life changes that occur in our youth. And especially in younger youth, you're growing ridiculously from the time you're a baby till you hit maturity, And there's so many different changes that you're going through. There's so much that you're learning. You're learning your language, you're learning the grammar of your language, you're learning the culture that you live in, you're learning math, you're learning different sciences. There's so much learning and opportunities for growth and development happening from, the age that we are born to, from the time that we are born until we mature and until we reach this age where our bodies start deteriorating, which, I mean, obviously our bodies start deteriorating from when we're born on, but you know what I mean. But I think that it's really important for us to not let our youth and to not let the opportunities that come with being younger or with growing in general to distract us from God, to distract us from our faith, because it can be really, really easy to get so caught up in all the things in the world that are happening, or so caught up in all of the things in our personal lives that are happening, that we can kind of just cast our faith to the side. But that's why Solomon is reminding us here, remember our Creator in the days of our youth. Don't just remember him when we're starting to grow old and decrepit. You know what I mean? So anyways, continuing into verse 2. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened, the clouds return after the rain, and the day when the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men are bent, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those who look through the windows are dimmed, and the doors of the street are shut, and the sound of the grinding is low, and one rises up at the sound of a bird, and all the daughters of the song are brought low. I'm going to pause there at the end of verse 4. I firstly just have to say I love verse 3 where it's talking about the keepers of the house, because realistically speaking, that is us women. That is something that we were created with the intent of doing, is to be the keepers of our home, to be the one rearing our children and making our house into a home, or your apartment or wherever you're living, you know, into a home versus just the place you go to eat and sleep at night. And obviously, for me, I'm a homemaker right now, so I'm not working, but I am in school full time. But that being said, obviously I do have more time to be a keeper of the home because I'm not also working. But that being said, that is why, historically speaking, so many times women would not have jobs after they got married, or their jobs would let them go after getting married, because the society saw the value in having the women at home, making food for their children, educating their children, keeping the place tidy, keeping everything in order so that their family could be functioning well. And then I also love how it says the strong men are bent. I love how it says, when it's referring to the men, because we've already, with the keepers of the house, that's referring to women, and then with the men, how the adjective describing them is strong, because that's what you want to look for in a Christian man. You don't want to look for a man who's weak in his faith, who is constantly stumbling, which obviously we all are going to stumble, but you don't want to look for somebody that is just entering into the faith. If you're more developed in the faith, you don't want to be looking for somebody that's just come to Christ, but also if you're someone that's completely new to this whole being a Christian thing, and you're learning and you're trying to navigate, okay, so what of my old lifestyle is sinful and how do I move past that? You don't want to then get into a relationship with someone who is not a Christian or who is very new to the faith as well, because you need somebody that's going to be able to hold you accountable and that has the experience to be able to hold you accountable, versus somebody who is like you, if you are a new Christian, coming in from a secular and pagan perspective and trying to learn and trying to develop Christian and godly habits and routines and rituals, whatever you want to call it. So I love that strong is the adjective, because a good Christian man that is ready for marriage, that is ready to be the man that needs a keeper of the home, is somebody who is strong in their faith, who has a stable and steady job, or is at least working towards that if they're kind of in between right now, obviously, because the world is a little bit chaotic still, but they are actively seeking to have a stable job, or perhaps they're trying to start their own business, but they are actually putting effort into that versus saying, oh, I'm going to start a business someday, you know? Anyways, but that is why strong is the adjective to describe here, because with Christian men, they need to be able to be strong enough to stand against the attacks of the devil, and that doesn't mean they're going to be strong enough to do it on their own. They have to be strong enough to rely on God when struggles and trials and whatever may come. They need to be able to have their strength found in God, not in the world, and that is why I think strong is a great adjective to describe the men here. Sorry, little tangent. Anyways, also if you're one of the men that watches this, which is a very, very, very small portion of my demographic, but for the men that are viewers of mine, so for the men that are in my audience, I would encourage you to be developing your own habits and making yourself into a strong man. And I don't mean you need to be able to bench press. I don't know what an average bench pressing number is, but you don't need to bench press a super high amount or whatever. If that's something that actually interests you and that you can use in your career, go for it, I don't care. But I think here when it's referring to strong men, it's not just talking about a man that's capable of getting things done around a property or a house or whatever, but also a man that is strong in his faith, because ultimately that's what's going to last. Your faith is more important than, you know, your career or your whatever, because your career is going to end eventually. Your house will eventually crumble, even if it's centuries after you live in it, you know, like ultimately the only thing that's going to last is your relationship with God. And I feel like we're going to still have relationships with people in heaven. Like, it'll obviously be different than it is on earth, but like, you know, loving God and loving people, that's what really matters. So, rambling aside. But I think verse 4 is important, where it's talking about how the doors on the street are shut, the sound of the grinding is low, and like in, I think it probably is a little bit different wording in the NLT, because that's what my notes are originally from. It's fine. But I feel like verse 4 is really emphasizing as well. Obviously, it's talking about like days that are going to be not full of hardship, but like I feel like it's also saying that we need to be able to focus God when the doors are closed, when everything's shut down. You know, like right now, how things are slowly opening, but still, you know, mostly shut down. Anyways. But it's saying that, you know, we need to be able to see God in the stillness of our lives, because if we can't see God in stillness, there's no way we're going to be able to seek Him when life is chaotic. If you can't seek God to, like, a lot of my demographic, I feel like, is people that are teenagers, or I should say a lot of my demographic is people in their teen years or early 20s for the most part, and like some later 20s, early 30s, but anyways, a lot of people in that demographic are going to be single or are likely not going to be married necessarily, so like still legally single even if you're in a relationship. And that is the time of your life where you're going to have the most freedom to be able to have the time to study the Bible like in the most depth, in the most, how am I trying to phrase this? In that season of life is one of the seasons where you're going to be the least busy that you ever will be. Even if you're working either part-time or full-time, or if you're in school full-time or part-time or a mixture, one of those combinations. That being said, like this is still the time of your life where you have the most freedom and you're going to have the most free time, because you don't have a spouse. You may have a boyfriend or whatever, but that's not the same thing. And like you don't have kids yet, you don't have a lot of the same responsibilities that you will down the line most likely, right? And so this is the time of your life that you have the most freedom, that it's the most still it's ever going to be. And if you can't seek God fully in that time, you're not going to be able to seek Him fully when you have a spouse, when you have kids, when you have a house to maintain. You're not going to be able to focus as much of your energy on God in that season that's busier as you would in the season of stillness that you're in now, even if you are busy. And so because of that, it's saying we need to be developing our Bible study habits and our Bible study routines in times when it is more still, so that we can fall back on those routines that are already established, already an active part of our daily life when life is more chaotic. And obviously, every season of our life is going to look different, and each habit and routine that we may have is going to change slightly in each season of our life, but regardless, if you have more time, that is the time to start developing healthy habits that you can fall back on, because they're habits and not something that you do once every blue moon when life is chaotic. So, continuing in verse 5, it says, "They are afraid also of what is high, and terrors are in the way. The almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper drags itself along, and desire fails, because man is going to his eternal home, and the mourners go about the streets. Before the silver cord is snapped, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher is shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern, and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, all is vanity." And I want us to really highlight here verses 5 through 7, talking about being afraid. In the New Living Translation, it talks about how as you get older, you're going to be fearing things that you may not have feared before, like your body getting old, or dangers that are on the street that when you were younger you might have been able to face more easily because, you know, you were more, your body's more able than it is as you get older and older and older and older. And it's talking about, you know, we're going to eventually die, hopefully when we're old and have had a long life, but maybe not. And that's why Solomon so many times in the book of Ecclesiastes is talking about how we need to remember our faith, how we need to put our focus on God and on nourishing our faith, because we don't know when our last day is going to be. And because of that, if you keep saying, oh, I'll read my Bible tomorrow, oh, I'll focus on my faith next week or next year, oh, you know, I fell off the bandwagon of reading my Bible every day this year, but next year I'll be better about it. Like, you don't know when your last year is going to be. You don't know if today is the last day you're going to wake up and be able to read. You could wake up tomorrow and be struck blind, or you could be walking down the road to Damascus and get struck blind like Paul did. You don't know. Like, okay, that's probably not going to happen, but like, you know, you never know. Regardless though, we don't know when our last day is going to be. We don't know if we're going to be in a car accident tomorrow and not be able to see or not be able to move freely after that. And because of whatever it is that might happen in our lives and all of the unknowns, that's why we need to be focusing on God now, why we need to be developing our faith now. And, you know, this is the only moment that you know is happening because you're in it right now. I know that there's cars driving down my street because I'm sitting here watching the cars drive down my street. I don't know if there's cars driving down my street at 3 a.m., but I know that they are right now. In the same way, I don't know that I'm going to be able to read my Bible tomorrow at, I'm not going to say 3 a.m. because I don't have to get up that early anymore. I don't know that I'm going to be able to read my Bible tomorrow at 8 in the morning because I'm not there. I only know that I'm right here. I could, you know, I could be anywhere tomorrow at 8 a.m. I don't know what's happening tomorrow at 8 a.m. Actually, tomorrow's Sunday. I'll probably be getting ready for church. I don't know where I'm going. But regardless, we don't know when our last day on earth is going to be, and because of that, we need to take advantage of this moment that we're in right now and be studying God's word and be developing our faith because, like I said, and like this is saying, we don't know when we're going to be going to our eternal home, when the mourners are going to be gathering for our funeral, you know? We don't know when that silver cord is going to snap. And because of that, we need to be focusing on our faith in the moment now, in today. The present moment, in our days today. We can't just keep pushing it off because if we do, you know, we may not, we're going to run out of tomorrows eventually. So starting back up in verse 9, it says, "Besides being wise, the preacher also taught the people knowledge, weighing and studying and arranging many proverbs with great care. The preacher sought to find words of delight, and uprightly he wrote words of truth. The words of the wise are like goads, and like nails firmly fixed are the collected sayings. They are given by one shepherd. My son, beware of anything beyond these. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh." So I'm going to jump back up here to verse 11. Where it's talking about how the words of the wise are like goads, and another, I think it was in the New Living Translation, it's talking about how wise words are like cattle prods, which, man, sometimes wise words definitely feel like cattle prods. But I feel like this verse is important because it's reminding us that while sometimes wisdom is going to be painful, it's important, and that if we need to correct somebody and direct them back to wise paths, we should take the time to really focus on how to say it in a polite way versus in a very, versus in an abrasive way. Like, you want to gently correct people out of love versus just angrily correcting them and being like, "You're wrong, you're a sinful, horrible, awful person, and like, this is why." No, you want to be like, "Hey, I love you and I know that you are wanting to develop your faith in Christ and that you're wanting to learn about God, or that you are actively seeking and portraying that you are a Christian, but I'm noticing that you have this area of sin in your life, and I kind of think that, like, I'm noticing that this is an area in your life where you're falling short and where you have actively been sinning, and it's just been continuing and you haven't really made any effort to correct that. So you point out the issue that you're seeing and you try and gently correct them into, hey, like, can I help be an accountability person for you so that you can move past this, so that you can correct this error in your ways, so that you can continue to actually focus on pursuing God versus pursuing the sinful ways of the flesh, right? Versus being like, you know, like I said earlier, you're a terrible, awful person, you're the biggest sinner on earth, and like, I hate you, and you need to fix your ways, or I'm never going to talk to you again. You know, like, you don't want to do it like that. Like, that's not going to help anybody. But anyways, sorry, I'm rambling. But then also verse 12, I think, is really important because it's one that's reminding us that, you know, with our own writing, we're never going to be satisfied with it. Or like, at least I know for me that's true. If you write something, you're always going to find something wrong with it. You're always going to find something that you can word a little bit better or change a little bit or whatever it may be, or with something that you're saying or doing, you're always going to pick out all the little errors and want to correct it and like, okay, well, I need to come out with a new thing to correct this thing that I did before because it wasn't good enough and I need to make it better or whatever it may be. And also, with that being said, like, there is so much to learn. So many things that we can learn on this earth. There are so many different skills you can develop. There are so many different subjects you can study. I mean, all of the different sub-subjects of math and science and history and English or different languages in general, and all the different like grammatical rules of different language and all the different alphabets that there are on earth. Like, there are so many things to learn, and if you are trying to learn everything, you're going to be exhausted. You really need to focus on like what you need to learn today, or like this is especially applicable if you're in school. Focus on what classes you're in right now and focus on learning that material well. Focus on learning the material that you need to know for this week, and focus on learning it well enough that you could teach it roughly to somebody that doesn't know anything about it, because that's how you're actually going to be able to learn things versus trying to read the entire textbook in a week. Definitely not speaking from experience there. But just remembering that there's so much to learn, and that if you push too hard, you're going to get exhausted, because learning is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And then continuing into the last 2 verses of Ecclesiastes, it says, "The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment, with every secret thing, whether good or bad." And that's the end of Ecclesiastes, but I do just want to say, and in the New Living Translation, I love how verse 13 is worded, because it essentially says that Solomon's final conclusion is that the whole duty of humankind is to fear and obey God. And imagine if everybody just started doing that. Fearing God, reading, like knowing what his word says, and actually obeying it. Obeying how we are called to live to a higher standard. If everybody started being like, okay, I will do my best every day to obey that and to live at this higher standard versus just trying my best but not actually trying at all, you know, like just the world would be such a different place. Such a different place. Oh my goodness. But anyways, that wraps up Ecclesiastes 12. That wraps up Ecclesiastes finally. This has definitely been a longer project than I was thinking, and sorry, we're gonna go on a little like life thing here, but it's just really weird because I started filming the series on Ecclesiastes I think before Corona even started. I started filming it early 2020, so either like right before Corona started or right after. And at that point, trying to think, I don't even think I'd started working the job that I had all year last year at that point. So I was unemployed. I was going to like Bible study and or church related things 3 to 4 times a week, which is a ton of fun. It also, like in retrospect, we were a really weird group of Bible study. Like, it was a great group. Like I say weird just because it was such a modge of people, but it was a great time. But no, just like looking back, it is so insane how my life has changed from beginning filming this to now, because I had not even met my husband yet. I'm trying to think of how many guys I still had not yet dated before dating him when I started filming this, because like, I don't even know, man. But like there were so many other people that I still was gonna meet before meeting my husband, and now I'm married to him. Like that's insane. And like I don't think I had been working, like I said, and that job was like pretty just dominating 2020, early 2021, because like I started working there at the start of everything that's been happening in the world right now. But no, I started working there then, and I was working like a lot of random shifts and hours, and like always staying late, to then working 4 and 3 a.m. shifts, which was kind of a blast, not gonna lie. And just like, I don't know, it's so insane to me that just how different life is now than when I started filming. And it's just, I don't know, it's really cool to look back, but that's also kind of why I was wanting to reshoot this one. Because, so that being said, I filmed this video, the original video on Ecclesiastes 12, probably like March, April of this year. And, you know, a lot has changed since then. Like, obviously I've gotten married, we bought a house, we got a cat, I have a dog now because my husband had a dog, so like now I'm a dog owner too. And like, we hadn't started going through anything that we have since getting married, which that's referencing vaginismus and vulvodynia, which is like, I don't know, it's weird to it's weird to look back because when I had filmed this originally, so much has changed since then, and like I feel like my faith has really grown since then, and just I've had to rely on God more, and so it felt really weird to edit this video that I filmed. How many months ago is that now? Like 6 months, 5 months? I don't know. Since I don't remember when I started filming this, but or when I filmed the original one. But anyways, I'm rambling, sorry. But if you guys are still here, thanks for listening to me ramble. As usual, if you guys want more frequent content from me, feel free to check out either the website, which is linked down below, or the Instagram blog, also linked down below, just to make that easy for you guys. And also, if you guys benefited from this video and if you learned something from it, please feel free to leave a like on it. If you guys have anything that you guys want me, if you guys have any either topic or chapter in particular or book in particular from scripture that you want me to do a video on, just feel free to either shoot me a DM on Instagram or comment down below, whatever that is. And as usual, if you guys leave this video knowing nothing else, I hope you know how loved, cherished, and precious you are to the God that created you. And I will see you guys all probably next week. But anyways, yeah, I'll see you guys all later. Bye guys.